It's that time of the patch, baby! Oh yeah, and you know we've been putting this off for way too long. Resto Shaman time! Resto Shaman has been a pretty good spot since the buffs earlier this patch, well, last patch actually. And it's probably one of the strongest healers in the game, if not for some unmentionables. So sit tight, relax, cause talents, gear, essences, rotation, and a lot more are coming your way. If you like our content and want to show it, then hit that little notification bell thingy. And maybe a like or two? 2 likes? Moving on, the first row of talents gives you Unleash Life. This little guy has been outperforming other options you might have been using in previous tiers, and personally, I don't mind. It's an extra button, it's instant, and God knows you need instants, and buffs your next direct heal as well, making for some decent plays if you synergize it properly with other options down the road. Second row, Echo of the Elements is still one, if not the best performer here. This gives you a second charge of Riptide, Healing Stream, and Lava Burst. Riptide is a core spell of your rotation that plays with one of the passives that makes this spec what it is. Healing Stream is nice, but the better reason is that down the line we will upgrade Healing Stream, making its second charge even more valuable. And we know we like to shoot some meatballs here and there, and depending on the content you might have to shoot some meatballs. So 2 Lava Burst charges is also good. This talent is ideal all around in both raids and dungeons. However, some people, top restos of course, have been using Deluge as well in mythics. This basically increases the single target healing in dire situations, and mythics tend to require that a bit more. Keep in mind that you can take this if you really feel like you're behind when doing tough content. Third row is a utility row that gives you survivability and crowd control options. This is usually reserved for what your group needs, but as a default option, Spirit Wolf is the go-to. It makes your Ghost Wolf into a move speed increase, a proper one, and a defensive tool, reducing incoming damage. It takes 4 seconds to activate a full strength, so a little planning ahead is necessary, but it doesn't cost you a cooldown or tons of mana, and sometimes you really have to survive for your group to triumph. If you're pushing keys and you're playing with a tank that needs to kite, Earth Grasp Totem is another option that you can go for, provided you will actually use it. Fourth row is sort of a utility row, mostly focused on survivability, both yours and your group's. The cookie cutter option is Earthen Wall Totem. This puts a little area on the ground that absorbs a bit of damage out of each attack the person standing in it suffers. This is good for phases of prolonged group damage intake where you can mitigate a bit out of every damage tick, adding up to quite a bit of healing you won't have to do otherwise. In dungeons, and you better get used to this, single target healing will be more crucial, especially since the strength of Resto is not that. Ancestral Vigor helps with keeping targets up, providing them with 10% extra HP for 10 seconds, mostly tanks. A lot of tanks benefit from extra HP, either because of their baseline kit or essences they might be using, so if you are struggling keeping your boy alive, you have an answer for that now. Fifth row is an actual survivability row that focuses on keeping you and your group alive. As a default, go with Graceful Spirit. This boosts your Spirit Walker's grace to serve multiple roles. Reducing its cooldown on top of it assures you have it more often for crucial moments. For a more simple option and something you can take in mythics where large bursts of incoming damage are more unpredictable, take Nature's Guardian for that little pick-me-up that can save your life. Sixth row, you have a general option in the Cloud Burst Totem, which is the upgrade to Healing Stream Totem we talked about earlier. The functionality of this is really cool and might take a bit to get used to it, but it will make your AoE healing pop with a flare. And of course, we have dungeon alternatives that boost your single target or priority healing with Flash Flood. Cast times are something very crucial in mythics, especially in high keys where you have to resolve a problem very quickly on a party member. Playing your tidal waves properly will reward you even more with faster cast times by taking this talent. And since mana is not a big issue in dungeons, you can be less frugal with your spells. Last row, High Tide is the MVP for pretty much all content. It occasionally makes your chain heals be super chain heals, giving you a decent amount of flexibility as to when you can cast them. Pair this up with Cloudburst Totem and other talents picked, and this essentially makes you one of, if not the best AoE healer in the game. Outside of cooldowns, of course. You can opt for Ascendance as an alternative in dungeons, which provides a totally separate benefit. It's an on-demand burst healing, mostly AoE. The healing you do is distributed evenly among close group members, which can be good in AoE, something you are already strong at though. This is a playstyle choice, and you can go with whatever you want here. It's very difficult to talk about healer stats and state something that can be good for everyone. Also, as a general note, the guide focuses on the basics and fundamentals, and its purpose is to give you a starting point in understanding the spec. That doesn't mean you cannot go deeper into more nuanced things. But still, the general accepted stat priority is intellect first, and as a consequence, eye level. Almost all healers benefit from the raw power intellect provides, and Shaman is no exception. Follow it up with critical strike and versatility. Resto Shamans are the type of healers that excel at healing low HP targets and get a lot from their spells critting. When healing a very low HP target, critical strike becomes more valuable because of what that situation implies. A low HP target is very close to dying, so generally you won't have time to fit in a lot of globals. As such, one stronger one, a critical one, is usually the best. Not only does Shaman heal for more on low HP targets because of their mastery, but critting with a spell refunds mana back, and seeing as how you don't have any other mana refund options, this becomes very important, especially in raids. Dungeons are still good to have crit for, but later on, with more and more gear, you will start to favor versatility more due to the nature of how it scales. Usually you will see more versatility being used in mythics on pretty much all classes, based on how the system works, in that the damage you take scales and the damage you need to do also increases. And yes, we will talk about you dealing damage a bit, but it's not the focus of the video. Trinkets can be something that align with your stats to increase your throughput or simply to help you deal more damage. Yes, if your aim is to deal damage, go with the stat-giving trinkets at your discretion. The best healing trinkets, though, will mostly come from the raid. Luminous Jellyweed is the prime example and what almost every top shaman uses. It drops from the underwater behemoth boss, and if you really read the text, it really seems to have been made for you, a shaman. The other option is the Alchemist Stone, which is not from the raid, but easily enough to get by simply raiding, since you will need to craft it with alchemy. This is usually a healer trinket in every raid tier based on how it's been designed, and can hold a spot for almost an entire raid tier until you get your bis. One other bis is the Deferred Sentence from the Queen's Court. This is a little bit of an oddball, but with a very strong healing component. The more you sit still, the more healing this accumulates, that is then distributed to 3 injured allies upon you moving. Most of the important heals are castable, so you will spend a lot of time not moving. Of course, you can actually play around it as well, but I would recommend doing that if you really know what you're doing. For the traits, there are a few that are really good, but in general, Shaman has decent traits that can be swapped and stacked based on how lucky you are with gear. The ones we will showcase are good to aim for, but you can also use them as a reference, meaning if you don't have them, it doesn't mean your build is incomplete. When raiding, you want Overflowing Shores, Turn of the Tide, and Soothing Waters once each. With the exception of Soothing Waters, the traits have a strong mechanic that does not stack on top of the healing bonus they provide, which does. In the lack of better options, you can stack them, but they lose a bit of value in the face of Spouting Spirits, which you want 3 times. Spouting spirits increases your spirit link area for sure, and it doesn't stack, but the bonus healing does, and the bonus healing is amazing. It's no secret that the strongest cooldown you have is spirit link, and this alone is enough of a reason to be picked in groups, at least by groups that actually understand the value of it. For dungeons, you want Turn of the Tide 3 times here. The stack and bit takes advantage of the extra single target healing you do, increased by the flat amount on the trait. Single target is more important in mythics and is something Resto Shamans have been known to struggle with. Undulating Tides once is a good addition. When pushing higher and higher keys, you will unavoidably be dealing damage even if it's something simple like Flame Shock ticks. And having this proc, which procs pretty often, is important to end the encounter faster. The last bit you can fill with Ancestral Resonance as a solid mastery boost, although this can be replaced with any of the traits we mentioned so far. And just as a little bonus, let's mention some of the DPS traits and the reason Shaman is the best damage dealer out of all the healers in the game. Igneous Potential, baby. Stack this 3 times and be sure to use those Lava Burst procs, especially if you have the 2 charges talent. Filling with traits like Blightborn Infusion and Trade Winds. Stat traits are strong if you want to deal damage, since you don't have much else that scales your DPS output. That doesn't mean that these should be your only traits. You still need to heal, so keep in mind what we suggested before and opt for DPSing only if you're sure your group can benefit from it and won't wipe you because of your healing being lower, which it will. When raiding, you want to go with Vision of Perfection for your major, Memory of Lucid Dreams, and Ever Rising Tide as minors. These are not the only ones, but seem to perform universally good in all situations. Note, this is of course if you have them at rank 3. There are alternatives of course, but for this video we are sticking with some more straightforward builds. In dungeons, you can change your major for Vitality Conduit. Keep Memory of Lucid Dreams in your first minor slot and Conflict and Strife in your second. I explained earlier the benefits of versatility in dungeons, and they will only grow the higher in keys you go. Again, if you decide on opting for DPS in either of the encounters, you can swap essences around to increase your offensive power. You usually do this when farming raid bosses or pushing keys high enough where the DPS you add can mean the difference between a fail and a win. These situations are usually high-end, and by that time you should know a bit more about what you can do and what your group needs. We can talk all day about this, but we should probably talk it better on our stream. Yeah baby, twitch.tv/MarcelianOnline is the place to be, because we do stream 4 times a week and we play both EU and NA with you guys, mostly dungeons, but sometimes raids as well. So if you're interested, come on by and maybe just a chat. When raiding, you want to start by having Riptide on cooldown and making sure the main tank has a charge of this spell. Use Cloud Burst on cooldown, and after you filled it with some healing, you can cast it again early for the burst healing if the situation requires it. Use Unleash Life to buff Chain Heal ideally, or Riptide if not. Healing range should be under as many people taking damage as possible. The same argument for Earthen Wall when the group is taking damage. Cast Chain Heal if AoE healing is needed. Spend Tidal Wave charges on Healing Surge in tough situations, or Healing Wave to be more mana efficient. Fill in downtimes with Healing Wave casts. Use Spirit Link Totem to prevent heavy damage from killing people, and use Healing Tide Totem when you need to repair heavy damage dealt to your group. In no healing downtimes, use Flame Shocks and Lava Bursts to aid with damage. The priority should be obviously kept when the healing is needed, since overhealing targets is never a goal and it will deplete your mana unnecessarily, on top of creating bad habits for you as a healer. In dungeons, healing people quick is a bigger priority than maintaining mana efficiency. Riptide into healing surges will be your way to do so, with weaving in 1 or 2 healing waves if the danger has passed but the target still needs healing. You want to cast Healing Wave either if there is no danger to your group or if you can buff it with Tidal Waves and or Flash Flood. Using Cloudburst Totem requires a bit of fight understanding since you want the most out of it once the damage hits your group, meaning you want to cast it before the damage hits your group, fill in with as many globals as you can so that the totem can pop, or you can pop it yourself at the opportune time for maximum healing. Playing with this is really fun, but can take a bit of practice, and each dungeon affix will change how you approach the encounter. If you want to do damage as well, it's not very complicated. Make sure Flame Shock is on your target and that you cast every Lava Burst charge, provided you are running with the Echo of the Elements talent. In between your Lava Burst casts, you can either fill in with Lightning Bolt or simply heal your group to make sure your job will be easier in the future when you will need to stop dealing damage. Talking about consumables is talking about stats again, which we did. Stats can be something you can follow, but also something you can study and decide what is best for you. Later on, you can opt to replace most of these with their versatility equivalent. Going with the general priority, a Chord of Critical Strike will be your ring enchant, with a Leviathan's Eye of Intellect for your first socket, since Intellect is still the best, and Deadly Lava Lazuli in the rest. Your weapon will have Machinist Brilliance as the most universal option and strong at the same time, especially if you are weaving in Flame Shocks and Lava Bursts here and there. Greater Flasks of Endless Fathoms and Superior Battle Potion of Intellect are tools you should keep when pushing content, but as a healer, never forget to also have replenishment potions for those mana issues. Obviously, eat the feast whenever possible because Intellect, and replace with McDonald's everywhere else. Have that food buff at all times so you don't drag your group down. Same with all other consumables as well. If you haven't heard already, our guides focus mostly on the basic and fundamental so you can pick it up quick and start doing raids and dungeons. But there are a lot more things that you can go in depth with and improve as you heal with your Resto Shaman. One such places that you can visit, and you should visit, is Ancestral Guidance, the Shaman website, which you can find down below, as well as the Earth Shrine Discord channel, where a lot of the top shamans post their theory crafting, their tips and tricks that even we used a lot of in making this guide. So shout out to all of you top shamans who make all this information available for us. You guys are the real MVP. Plural. And of course, Patreons. God damn it, you crazy bastards, you're supporting us every month and you keep growing as a community. We love you so much, guys, and we really appreciate everything that you do for us, because YouTube revenue, Twitch revenue is not always very reliable, and you supporting us basically shows how much you enjoy our content, and in turn we enjoy making it even better every time. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching the video, take care and see you next time.